Okay, so during the 2 years of legal proceeding in New York, I sold my house and I couldn't work for 2 years, just like most people are experiencing right now with the virus. I was not able to work. I was spending 2 weeks a month in New York. Uh, and if I didn't show up to court, I would have had like consequences up to 7 years of jail. So I had to be there and I couldn't work. Nobody wanted to hire me because of the vilification in the news. I lost, I sold my house. I was using the equity on my house for 2 years to pay airfare and hotels and food and all expenses that being in New York for 2 years every month. So I was desperate. I was alone. I was excluded. I was wasting my money. I'm gonna show you a trick I discovered during that very difficult period. I was wasting my lifetime saving on just food and surviving, and I was alone in a foreigner country, and I was scared, and I was afraid, and I was angry. It was because an injustice is, and that's the virus is like an injustice. It's something that nobody deserves. It's not the consequences of our action. And an injustice is exactly like this. I was like, I didn't do anything. And I cannot even speak. Nobody wants, like, all the press, they were printing, but they never asked me an interview. Nobody asked me an interview. Nobody wanted to know my side of the story. They just wanted to print and make a ton of money while it was damaging for me, my family. I lost everything. And I was having difficult time because as I sold my house, and I was using the equity on my house for food and expense and traveling. It was a very, very devastating period of my life, and I was always alone in a foreigner country. And when I was coming back from New York every 2 weeks, every time I was living in a different house. I couldn't afford a house. I was always in New York. I couldn't afford to rent a place here and rent a place in New York. I rented an apartment in New York, so that was enough. Like American money, I'm a Canadian, so that was hard. And so when I came back, I would stay at one friend's place for 2 weeks and then going back to New York, staying at my uncle, and then coming back to New York, and then staying in Florida to my friends. And then, so I was homeless. Technically, I was homeless. And I had to adapt to how they eat, like all the rules that they had, and it was always a different house, a different family, a different setup. So I was in crisis. I was being vilified around the world. I was under maximum pressure with legal consequences that made no sense, and I was not able to work or earn any money. So I was like, I had to stay put, I had to be standing on my feet, and I had no choice. But I couldn't cry as much as I needed to while I was staying at some friend's place because some of them had children, some of them, they were generous enough to have me in their personal life, giving me like a couch or giving me a basement just to, it was very hard. But it was also, for them, they were generous enough to have me in their house. So it's not like I could cry and be totally, expressing my stress level. I could not, because I had no intimacy. So I was losing my job, I was losing my income, I was losing my house equity, and I was losing my intimacy. So I had no private space to express how I felt. And I felt bad. I felt rage. I felt crying, and I needed to cry because sometimes, I acquired some very important tools, and I will share with them, like how to manage stress from home and things that could make make it easier. But there's a certain level of stress you can manage, and then there's a level of you need to express it in an healthy way in order to get rid of it, like to get it out of your system, feel better, and then back on the track like the next day and do what needs to be done. And so I had no intimacy in New York or in Quebec during 2 years. So I had to develop a trick, and my trick is my car. And I was doing it at night because at night shopping malls are empty. But now you can do it on daytime because I'm telling you, it's April 1st and there's no one. Like you can see, like there's no car near my car. There's no one. And so the good thing is you can bring yourself a little snack, a bottle of water, and you take a 30 minutes or 15 minutes, as long as you need, outside of your house, outside of your spouse, outside of your children. And you come and you sit here and you let whatever emotion is trapped inside, could be anxiety, a panic attack, it could be tears, and it could be scream. Because it's a very violent period when you lose your job and you lose your income and you don't know what's coming at you. So I've been through this for 2 years during the New York, but honestly, that's how I live since 8 years. So when you have no intimacy because the kids are no longer at school and your spouse is there and you want to put like a strong facade and help your family to go through this hard time, you still need to express what's trapped inside of you in order to just release that energy and feel better. The next day, I'm going to tell you, you're going to feel like so much better. It's going to allow you to do your task. It's going to allow you to do like a better job for your family. It's going to make you be healthier. And that's very important. So what I did is I would come in a shopping mall. I would do it at night, but now, like there's no one around. So you can do it on daytime anywhere nearby your shopping mall. And you sit there and you let the emotion come and arise and be expressed. So you could cry your despair. You could scream your anger of losing your job. You can speak out loud. You can speak alone out loud and say out loud everything you would say in front of your family. How desperate you are, or how stressful you are, or how angry you are. No matter what it is, you have a meeting with yourself in an empty parking lot. Why did I choose an empty parking lot? Because I could see car coming like from a distance. And so I felt that I regained in my car the intimacy I lost by losing my house. And so in my car, nobody's going to hear me. Nobody's going to judge me. Nobody's going to even witness what I'm going to say or if I'm going to cry. So that's, for me, it was a way to regain my private space with a bottle of water, with Kleenex and a little snack, 15 minutes, an hour, depending on what you need and how, the first time you scream alone in your car, and I'm telling you, it's weird. But it became something a tool for me during New York and justice. And as I was doing it, maybe once a week, sometimes when I had court date and I was spending tens of thousands of dollars without gaining any money, without earning anything. So it was a very dark period. So for me, I used that trick, and it was releasing, and it was empowering, and it allowed me to express in a healthy way very difficult emotions. And so if this trick can help you go through what we're going through right now, difficult times, and allow you to have like a sense of privacy, just to perhaps not to scream or cry, but just to just to gather where you're standing and recenter yourself. sometimes being in a bathroom with candle it's not enough. You need to get out of that energy that everybody around you. So we cannot go in a restaurant. We cannot go for a coffee with a friend. So I was alone. I was socially excluded since 8 years, but I'm talking during the period of New York, like 2 years where my face was on newspapers in New York, in the United States, in Canada, all over. So everywhere I was going, I felt in danger. I was alone and I was in danger. It was very difficult. So for me, the crying in my car or, self meetings in my car was very healthy. It was a tool that allowed me to gather, to recenter, to evacuate my stress, and allowed me to stand on my feet in front of the press each time that I was forced to go back to court and be humiliated by journalists all around the planet. And keep in mind, like, those journalists, they were printing and making a ton of money, but none of them ever asked me my side of the story. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to tell you the truth, or at least both sides of the story. They just wanted to make a ton of money and print a scandalous fake news that became real because the judge took the decision based on 2 years of vilification around the world. So when you're labeled as the bad person for 2 years nonstop, your chance for justice are zero. And I knew that since day one. I knew I was stoned in public places, and I knew I had no chance, and I knew I would end up like bankrupt or damage in a way, like losing all my contacts for work, all my friends, all my family. This is where I'm standing right now. I'm like totally alone in my life and socially excluded since 8 years. So if you find it hard, follow my account, because I've survived 8 years. So you can do few months, and I'm gonna help you out. And I'm going to help you out, and I'm going to share the tricks that I acquired. But this is a good one. Parking lot, screaming, meeting, talking alone, crying. As much as you need it, alone in your parking lot in a shopping mall, it works. And it's going to allow you to unblock, energy that is like this, that you're afraid, that you're frightening by. And it's legitimate, like it's normal to feel what you feel. And expressing it is healthy. But expressing it in a way that you don't damage anyone, that you don't stress out anyone, that you don't impose any bad emotion to anyone. So alone in a parking lot, I'm telling you, for me in New York, it was a safe place to do it. It was an intimacy, and I could see like no one around. So it was good. It was good. So I hope if you need it, don't let the emotion build up. That's bad. And that could become, unpredictable. So like a therapy, you take 15 minutes with yourself and you cry and you talk out loud. And you express what you need to say that you cannot say perhaps in your family right now. So regain your intimacy and allow yourself some meetings in your car somewhere. It worked for me. Stay tuned, I'll give you more tips.